This weekend I went to the West Virginia Writers Annual Conference, and truth is I'm here in West Virginia now, and this is West Virginia is where I was born and raised, and I'm not too far from where I grew up, a place called Meadow Wells. It was a small place. I lived here just outside of Parkersburg, West Virginia, and I lived here probably till about 1968, give or take, when I moved to Ohio. And I used to joke about, well, my family moved over there in about 68, and I moved about 69 because I got hungry and had to find them again. My mom used to get so mad at me, don't you be telling people that, they'll believe it. And I got a kick out telling that story, but Mom didn't think it was very funny, and so I had to shy away from it, at least letting her know I was telling people that. But that's one of the things I do that gets me in trouble sometimes. This whole area, I grew up out here long before the 4-lane. In fact, is the 4-lane that runs over to my left here. I was a kid playing on the playground of Meadow Wells Elementary School. And when I was a kid, and I didn't realize it until years later, I watched them build that highway, the big trucks and everything, while I was out on the swing sets and playing out in the yard as just maybe a first, second grade student. I sat there and watched them build this 4-lane out here. And so much of this area has shaped me and molded me into whatever kind of person I am today. And I'm thankful this area, and this area will always be home to me. It don't matter where I live or where I go, this will be home. And that just really doesn't change. The Meadow Wells and Parkersburg area is just, it's precious, it's home. And those of you that know what it's like, it seems like Texans understand home the same way West Virginians do sometimes. Is that people that are from Texas are always from Texas. I think people that are from West Virginia never quit being West Virginians. It's just sort of the way it is. Here I am. This right here is where would have been my grandparents, or my dad's side. My grandparents were buried. I never knew either one of these. My grandfather, my grandmother, they died when my dad was a kid, so I never really got to know them. And it always kind of bothers me that I didn't, because I think it would have been interesting people to talk to. Right next to them is my dad and mom's burial site. And there's a lot of stories about this place, and actually I think a lot of times I think maybe it's kind of a tradition. The man is usually buried on the left and the woman on the right, but they buried my grandmother here, which is this site right here. Mom died first, and there was some question whether there was enough room to get a vault in here. And Dad always said it would be a problem, and of course he figured it out. And but this is pretty special ground up here, and it's right above where my mom and dad had their farm for years and years. It's peaceful and quiet on this hillside. Down below this is a place called Big Tiger Methodist Church. Right down where I'm driving now, I'm coming out of the cemetery, and you'll see the church right ahead of us, where I used to, where my great-grandpa was a sort of lay preacher here. This area is still pretty special to me. I'm turning left, which brings you below the cemetery, and I may pull in there just a second and turn around. This ground's still kind of special to me. It'd be the place where my dad, well, I lived for years and years and years. Right back this hollow right here. And I don't want to stop somebody's driveway, but my family lived there. And right here, this house right in front of me is where some of our friends grew up. And actually some kids that my older brother was really good friends with their kid. The fact is they used to fight quite often, and then they'd sometime later that day they'd make up and they'd be best as friends again. That's kind of the way it was, but that's the way it was back out here in small towns. This is Meadow Wells, and this is where I grew up. Kind of, however I am, this area probably made me that way, and maybe they shouldn't get all the blame for that, but this is home. And I don't come here that often, but I thought it was time and I stopped in and paid my respects.